Hi everyone, my name is Pascal and I run a service called Sharpen.page. This video is part of a series on creating struggle first pages, the kind of page you want to do to communicate to your visitor who's coming for your product or service, to communicate to your visitor that you understand their struggle. So instead of talking about how great your product is, you talk about that you understand what they're going through. Pages like this, for example. So lots of text, but still we start off by just relating back to the visitor all that is probably going on in their mind as they came to your site in the first place. Sites like this or like that, I'll come back to these pages, but I have a specific way I like to design these pages, and I was wondering, can I make them without having to know all this code, how to make HTML, CSS in a certain way, and can I make them with site builders? So this is the third video. I started with a video on Squarespace and did okay. WordPress with the new block editor was the second video, and also that was also okay. But now I was wondering, what if I use carrd.co, carrd.co, created by this AJ person, and does it do a good job? It actually does. So I'll get back to that in a few minutes. I'll show you how to make this style of page using Carrd. But first, I just want to go back to this idea of struggle first pages, just so I can go through a few of the examples again. So, like I said, it's instead of making a features and benefits page, like, this is my product and this is how great it looks, or having witty sort of headlines that you hope is going to convert into more visitors and stuff like that. If your product is too small or too niche, which you probably should have if you want to have a dent in the market, and you want to be like you just want to have a page that is going to be well received. And maybe if your product doesn't necessarily equate with what people have in mind as the solution, but it still solves a problem in a novel way, then you probably do want to consider a struggle first page, otherwise known as a pain dream fix structure. That's also another way that, but you don't have to follow that structure exactly. But just the fact that it starts by talking about the struggle that they're going through. So the visitor comes to this page and says, I feel understood, scroll for more, read some more, and finds that this page is speaking to them. So a page like this, page like that too, and how to plug this with this, for example, is a struggle. And it's not just you, for example. These are great words to say, you've got a problem, we understand it. Here's another one. There's a deadline for Apple by latest the 30th of April. But how do you make an app, your mobile app, to be compliant with Apple's deadline, etc. And there's a struggle there. There's urgency. This is great. So far you see this about courses, about books, about informational products. This one is a free one. It's just a talk. But the person created this page, used that struggle first technique just to say, you're at the right place to watch my talk. Okay. Informational products. But what about consulting services? Well, Meg Cumby offers this service where she talks to your past clients and she gets client testimonials. And she's the one doing all the talking to them. So because if you did it by yourself, that would be awkward, and you don't want to have the awkwardness. So she takes care of that. And this is full of struggle copy, meaning that it's evidence of a struggle. So these are great. But as you see, all these pages are pretty much just text. And how do you make them more appealing? For example, over here, it's great. You have like a line, you have a big bold heading, and there's different treatment here. This is all great. But I have a specific opinion about how to make these. In order to create contrast and create rhythm, I want to box stuff in. I want to change the width of items. I want to add little bits of, decorative stuff just to make the flow better. I want everything left aligned so that the eye has a single place where to scan and not scan all over, so that it's not so tiresome. I also want to change the size of headings and style them specifically to achieve what I want to do in the context of the page. So even if something isn't so important, I want some headings to be bigger, etc. All these things. So can I do this with site builders? I was able to do it okay with Squarespace, okay with WordPress with the new block editor as well. But with Carrd.co, I found something pretty special. Okay, so Carrd.co is a landing page, one page. It's a landing page builder for a single page sites. So where the whole site is just one page. So that's what they're for. So for my own website, it wouldn't work because I have multiple pages and multiple service offerings. But for them, if you want, what you want to sell is just a single page, and you only need a single page, this would actually be kind of great. So there's a ton of different templates that you can use. I'm just wanting, and I didn't find any template that I really liked as a starting point, so I just started with a blank page, and I was able to reproduce pretty much exactly what the design of this page on my site would look like under here. A few caveats, but it was actually pretty impressive. So I'm going to run you through how I did that and how to use Carrd to achieve it. But I have to say, I have not used the Pro account. I just use a trial. So there's a few things that I can't do, and I'll show you what those are. Very quickly, there's a few things to note. There's the idea that you have these containers and you have columns within containers. You have a page, and then you have a background. So I can change these things here, and I'll show you how. But I just needed to know that the page and the background were two separate things to note, and they're accessible through this menu, background and page. So just also to note, if you're using Carrd.co for the first time, the layout is probably going to be like this. I switched it around because I wanted to have this on the right. And because my content is centered, this was how I was able to have the stuff I wanted. So for the page, the property of the page, I wanted a tall box as opposed to just a box that was centered on the page. A tall means it goes all the way to the top. And it's not a wide box because I didn't want it to be full width. I want it to be in the middle. And the background element here is where I can change the color and stuff like that. Now that I have those things done, you have elements like a text element that I use. I use list elements. And for headings, it's just another text element. And I use dividers, and I use containers. So the container is this part here. You will see it stretches the whole width, and it offers me the ability to have, oh yes, I have to go into this section here, container columns, and I have two of them. First one is 75%, and the second one is spacer only. So if I uncheck that, it creates this little thing here. So by clicking spacer only, it means a box is not supposed to be there in the first place. That's how I was able to modify the width of certain blocks of text. And over here, further down below, 60%. And so that's how I was able to do that. You can change everything about the text in here, and you can simulate headers, which for structural structure and page architecture and semantics is not great, but you treat everything as just a box of text in Carrd. This thing here, which is really neat, is a divider that is orientation vertical, which is great because that's what I had over here. I was sort of like pretending to do something here, but they actually have an element for this, and I thought that was great. When you make lists, you just straight up paste each thing on a new line, and it adds the bullets. And that was really fun. This is another divider that's horizontal. The choice of font is kind of neat too. Everything about this was allowed me to do exactly what I wanted to do with the design. Over here, I just cranked up the font size of this one, of this heading, which I really liked. One thing that's kind of cool is that within the formatting, you can say within this block here, the links are going to be a certain color, just for this block, which I thought that was kind of neat. So it has this really novel way of allowing you to do all this styling that I really liked. So I was able to get the kind of page I wanted, everything left to line, different widths of elements, being able to control the size of headings and text in a way that, for example, over here the text is bigger than over here, because I want this to be more of a central, punchy statement, and this is sort of like a sub-message. I was able to do something on the right over here, for example, which turned out great as well. So everything about this was really neat, and I liked that I was able to do all of this. One thing that I wanted to do, and I thought was great, is when you change a heading, you can change its element. So the tag itself, I can change the tag itself. So I have to upgrade to Pro for this, but say I want to make sure that it has this style, but it's going to be structured as an H2 element, meaning that it's a level 2 of heading for the page. So I thought that was really neat, that I was able to do that if I wanted to upgrade. So overall, Carrd lets you make any number of sites that you want if you're on the pro level. So pro level means it's so much per year and it's really cheap, and you can make so many single page websites as you want. So for each one of your products, for example, you can have a different URL, a single page site, and that could be something you could do. So I hope this was useful. I was actually pretty impressed with Carrd.co, with so much power at changing everything. And it was kind of a delight to get it all together. So you might want to check that out. I'm still interested in seeing how other site builders are going to be done. Webflow, for example, allows for a lot of flexibility, so I'm curious about that. I've never tried it, so I'll be making more videos about that. I'll also be making videos about more of the sort of psychology of the visitor when coming to a page and why they scroll. I'll be making videos about the forces of progress and how what's going on in the mind of the buyer as they decide whether to choose your thing or not to solve their problem. I'll be talking about sort of the what you want to achieve, the philosophy behind this type of page, and how each section should flow one to the next. So be sure to subscribe if you're interested in those videos too. And so I'll see you next time.